Hello! Welcome to Storytime with Hillary. Where I will be reading you a story and also doing a book review. Today I will be reading The Penguin That Hated the Cold. Got my jacket on. It's bloody cold outside. It's June the 18th and it's freezing. But then again, I live in Winnipeg, so I don't expect any less. So I can probably relate to this guy, because I hate the cold. Anyways, let's get started. The Penguin That Hated the Cold. Now, first of all, I don't see any author, because it's just a Disney book. So, that's the first thing. The Penguin That Hated the Cold. Oh, here you go. Adapted by Barbara Brenner. Adapted. Not written. Adapted. There he is on the South Pole. Once there was a penguin named Pablo. He lived on a block of ice, far away at the South Pole. The weather there was always cold. Penguins like the cold. Most penguins, that is, but not Pablo. Penguins like to dive and swim and catch fish in the icy water. But not Pablo. Pablo was the only penguin on his block who hated the cold. All of the other penguins went skiing and ice skating, or they played all day in the snow at the beach, but not Pablo. Pablo stayed inside close to the hot stove. He kept his flippers warm and his feathers warm. Cold weather, said Pablo, is for the birds. The other birds, not me. One day Pablo said to himself, "It's silly to be chilly. I will go where I can, be warm all the time." He put on his skis and packed his stove on his back. "So long, you birds," he said to the other penguins. "Wish me luck." Uh-oh, something was wrong. The stove was pulling him backward. Pablo was going the wrong way. Down the hill he went, faster and faster. He was sliding straight toward a cliff. Suddenly, Pablo was hanging upside down. His skis had caught on the icy cliffs. But that was not such a good idea, said the other penguins. Poor Pablo was frozen stiff. They had to carry him to his igloo. There, they held him under a hot shower until he could walk again. The next day, Pablo had another idea. He put hot water bags on his feet and under his coat, and he put them around his neck. "So long, you birds," said Pablo. "This time nothing can go wrong." But something did. When Pablo stopped to look at his map, the hot water bags melted the snow. They melted the ice, and Pablo sank and sank down into the ice-cold water. "Poor Pablo," said the other penguins. "He will never get anywhere." When they pulled him out, he was frozen in a block of ice, and that's the way they carried him home. But Pablo's hot stove soon melted the thin ice. The next day, Pablo said, "Now I have an idea that will really work. I will go by boat." He got a saw and cut a boat out of ice under his igloo. Inside the igloo, everything was ready for the big trip. His stove was in place, his tub was in place, and he was all set to go. All the penguins on the block came to say goodbye. Then Pablo pulled up his sail, and off he went. His boat sailed on and on through the snow and fog, past mountains of ice. Day after day, night after night, Pablo sailed on. Then one morning he woke up to find that the sun was Then one morning he woke up to find that the sun was shining. Hot weather at last. "I made it!" cried Pablo. He took off his warm clothes. He lay down in the warm sunshine. "Oh boy," Pablo said, "this is the life." But Pablo spoke too soon. The hot sun started to melt his house. Then it began to melt his boat. Soon Pablo was floating on a little piece of ice. He jumped into the tub. But there was a hole in the bottom of the tub, and water began to run in. Pablo had to pour it out as fast as he could. Quickly he put on the shower pipe in the hole. Then the water began to splash out of the shower. Suddenly the tub started to go full speed ahead. Far away, Pablo saw land and trees, and a shark, apparently. His boat sailed up onto the sandy beach, and Pablo got out. He walked over to a banana tree and picked a nice yellow banana. "This looks like a good place to build my house," he said. He collected lots of branches and started building it. At last, Pablo had found the land of his dreams. No more cold for him. The end. Okay, well, I have a few problems with this book. I mean, it's excellent, about a penguin that kind of reminds me of Pingu that I used to watch in my childhood days. However, let's just logically, should we be reading this to our children, telling them that it's okay to run away from home just because you don't like something? I disagree. Anyways, first of all, I have just like these illustrations. I don't know if you can see them, but they're cute. But really, penguins on skis, that would never happen in real life. Or skates. Okay, I read this book as a child. My parents read it to me, and I've noticed this every time that I read it. Why does he have an oven on his back? Why is he not being burnt? Why does he not have third-degree burns? And or is, like, even that close to the snow? It would melt. I would know I live in the snow. I live in a frozen wasteland up in Canada, in the ice. That would melt. And you would slip and die and fall. And it would not be fun. Especially this whole idea. How does the kettle stay on there the whole time? I mean, he's going downhill, backward. The kettle's still on the oven and he's upside down. What is going on? The hot water bottles, I would do that. We'd probably get eaten by some kind of like tiger shark or whatever, right? If he sank into the water. Oh, and here's the other thing. So he's pulled out of the ice in this ice block, and these other penguins take him back to his house and put him on the oven. But didn't his oven like fall off when he was upside down hanging from the cliffs? What? He's got frozen blubber and frozen fish. And, Oh look, USS Pablo. Okay, but like, why does he have a bathtub in his igloo? And the problem that they were talking about yeah, so he gets in the tub because all his ice melts. First of all, the ice only melts when he gets to the island. Wouldn't it melt way before? Because the temperature of the water would just change drastically and it would melt. That's, right? Thinking ahead of time. So he jumps into his little boat and he goes for a little boat ride. And okay, here's the deal. There's the plug. Okay, there's the plug. So why on earth? But there was a hole in the bottom of the tub and water began to run in. Well, if you kept the plug there wouldn't be a hole in the bottom. Okay, and yes, I can see how water would gush in from the bottom, but sticking the shower head in it would not do anything. You would not get enough power to create that motion of thrust to get the boat moving like that. Okay? And there's sharks. Sharks like penguins, like tigers like pepper. Okay? Also, my problem with penguins moving to an island is that penguins, okay, all animals, including humans, when you do something new, you have to adapt to it. And that is where evolution comes into play. Now, however, Pablo moves to this little island, and he lives happily ever after. Now, not having anybody from his family history or tree move from that area, he would not be adaptable to that kind of environment, and the heat would be such an extreme change from the cold that he would just die because he wouldn't be adapted to that yet, and it wouldn't be in his DNA or whatever. So I'm really confused by this book, as cute as it may be. The underlying stories here we gotta think about, right? Yeah, that was a good story. I would rate it 7 out of 8 betta fish.